The time has come to prepare for the apocalypse, where only the strong will survive.
Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucimus Prime here, so it's time for the next review in my review series where I'm going to be reviewing, of course, the films of the X-Men franchise. And this is the third installment of the franchise's Younger Characters trilogy. And this was also directed by, unfortunately, director I've lost respect for, which is Bryan Singer. And this film, which I'm going to be reviewing, is, of course, none other than 2016's X-Men Apocalypse. So, now, how was this film made then? So, the film was announced in December 2013 with Simon Kinberg, Michael Dougherty and Dan Harris attached to develop the story. Casting began in October 2014 with filming commencing in April 2015 in Montreal and then in August of the same year. There was even loads of reports of cast members in the film, many of which were featuring the older cast from the original trilogy, but unfortunately, pretty much none of them came back for this film. Instead, just featured the young cast. So it wasn't, like a crossover between the old trilogy and the new trilogy characters like Days of Future Past certainly was. The film premiered in London on May 9, 2016, and was released in the United States on May 27, 2016, in various cinematic formats by 20th Century Fox, and the film received mixed reviews from critics. So, when it comes to my reaction to this film then, after I was done with my GCSE exams of that year, I decided that I would reward myself for my hard work by watching a film at the cinema. And because I wanted to keep watching the X-Men films after I absolutely loved Days of Future Past, I decided to give this film a watch at the cinema. So I went to the cinema to watch this film, and I've also watched it many times as well, and I of course have it on Blu-ray here as part of my Blu-ray collection for the Young X-Men Beginnings trilogy. And when it comes to what I think of this film then, so compared to the mixed reviews this film got and also some negative reviews that I've heard about this film, I personally think this film is an example of an overhated film in my opinion. I personally think it didn't deserve the hate that it got. Now what I will say is, in response to the questions, do I think the film is weaker than First Class and Days of Future Past? Yes. But do I think it's a bad film? No. And here's of course why I think that. So now what is this film about then? So in this film, the ancient mutant called En-Sabah-Nur, also known as Apocalypse, is inadvertently revived in 1983, and he plans to wipe out modern civilization and take over the world, leading the X-Men to try to stop him and defeat his team of mutants. So, now what do I think is good about this film and why I think it doesn't deserve hate? So, I think the film has a really great cast of actors, once again like the previous two films of the trilogy had. So, for example, James McAvoy reprises his role as Professor Charles Xavier. I think in this film, he once again did a brilliant job playing Xavier like he always has done, does a brilliant job in this film. And this film also answered a question that I've had when it comes to a character, because after First Class, of course, answered the question of how he lost his legs, this film answered a question of why he has no hair, as the character does in the comics, and of course, in the original trilogy when he played by Sir Patrick Stewart. This film confirms it, and I definitely think as well, that he did a good job executing that. I think they did it really well, in my opinion. And I think as well that James McAvoy gave a great performance in this. He showed great range as a character and made him a likeable, kind character like he always has been. Yeah, he always did a brilliant job playing the younger version of Charles Xavier. And I think as well he did a really good job trying to sound like Patrick Stewart in the film's opening narration as well. So I really appreciate that he tried to sound like, of course, the actor who would play the older version of the character later on. Then as well, of course, in my opinion, the best part of this film was undoubtedly Michael Fassbender reprising his role as Magneto. It's always been a pleasure to watch Michael Fassbender as Magneto in these films, and once again, he absolutely delivered. This film is no exception. Like, if I was to think of best parts of this film, for me, it's undoubtedly Magneto when it comes to the characters. Michael Fassbender as best role, in my opinion, and I think in this film he had lots of great scenes. I like how in this film we see a new side to his character where he's trying to move on from, of course, what happened in Washington Days of Future Past, and he's trying to live a level life where he's now married and has a daughter, and he works in Poland as an alter ego called Henrik. But the way his powers were exposed to the public happens just because he's saving a co-worker. So I really appreciate how this film tried to give him a much more heroic side, basically, at the start, where he, of course, exposed, not for villainous reason, but because he was being a hero saving someone. But, of course, that unfortunately results in his daughter and his wife getting killed by soldiers who are capturing him. So that was definitely a very sad scene, but I think Michael Fassbender nailed that scene. And there's one particular scene which I found very satisfying to watch as well, where Magneto, of course, is brought to Auschwitz by Apocalypse, and of course, those who follow him, and Apocalypse enhances Magneto's power, and he then destroys Auschwitz. That's definitely, in my opinion, a very satisfying scene, and I think Michael Fassbender's acting definitely made it so amazing. And, yeah, Magneto was absolutely awesome in this film. When it comes to Apocalypse himself now, I would definitely say that I absolutely loved Apocalypse in this film, and he's easily my favourite role of all time from Oscar Isaac, because after I was very disappointed with how Oscar Isaac was wasted in Disney Wars for Force Awakens, which in what is, in my opinion, my least favourite role has been Paul Dameron, I definitely really loved his portrayal of Apocalypse in this film. It definitely made up for that film, in my opinion, because in this film he gave an absolutely amazing performance. And my favourite line that he says is, well, definitely in the scene where Magneto destroys Auschwitz, where he yells out, "Everything they've built will fall, and from the ashes of their world, we'll build a better one." Oh, I absolutely love that line. It's just so powerful. He absolutely nailed that delivery. Must also say that his makeup looked amazing as well, in my opinion, too. Just was awesome, in my opinion. Yeah, I think Oscar Isaac really nailed it, and I don't think he deserved the negativity he got for the role either, because I definitely really loved Apocalypse in this film, and I think Oscar Isaac did a brilliant job playing him. He's a great actor, and he brought lots to the table playing the character. He nailed it, in my opinion. And I also definitely love the return of Rose Byrne as Moira McTaggart as well in this. I thought she was great in First Class, and I like how she came back in this film in a supporting role, which I thought was really good. I definitely did like that. And when it comes to others who return as well, I also absolutely love the return of Evan Peters as Quicksilver. And I like how in this one you got to play slightly bigger role when he did Days of Future Past. And my favourite scene in this film is undoubtedly his running scene, where he saves Vex Mansion students from being killed by the explosion. And the funny thing is that when I saw this film at the cinema, when, of course, time slows down and then we see his foot step onto the pavement and he appears, myself and the entire audience started cheering because we knew what was coming after seeing Days of Future Past. And boy, did the film deliver that scene. It was just brilliant, in my opinion. Just so awesome. And I think they did a brilliant job with the visuals for that scene. Just so awesome to see. Evan Peters absolutely nailed it as Quicksilver. Definitely, in my opinion, his best role. I think he was brilliant in the role as Quicksilver. And that scene I could definitely watch all day. It's probably the scene from the film I love watching the most. And also returning as well is Lucas Till appearing as Havoc once again. I liked his return in this film, where he's, of course, a student who is working with Xavier, giving him lifts to places in his car. That was definitely nice to see. And also Josh Helmer returning as William Stryker as well, which is really good. I think he did a brilliant job playing Stryker in these films. Definitely, in my opinion, an underrated performance. That's what I'd definitely say. And when it comes as well to others who also appear, there's also a pretty awesome cameo appearance by the absolute legend being Hugh Jackman, reprising his role as Wolverine. He's, of course, the only actor from the original films to reprise his role for this film. And I definitely really loved his one scene he has in the film where he slaughters all of the soldiers in Weapon X facility. That scene was absolutely brilliant, in my opinion. Sadly, he was only an uncredited appearance, just that one scene, and he unfortunately had no dialogue in that scene, but wow, it was definitely really awesome to see Hugh Jackman in this film as Wolverine. And that one scene, in my opinion, was also miles better than X-Men Wolverine as well, in my opinion, too. And thankfully, that scene retcons that film out of existence, because we get to see, of course, Wolverine's escape from Weapon X facility in this. And definitely, in my opinion, done much better than that trash film, absolutely. And when it comes to the new characters introduced in this, aside from, of course, the brilliant addition being Apocalypse himself, I also definitely loved as well the introduction of other X-Men, such as, for example, Cyclops, and also Jean Grey, and also as well Nightcrawler as well, and also as well Storm, Jubilee, and it was definitely really cool to see them in this, and also as well Psylocke appears in this as well, and I think the actors did a brilliant job playing them in this film, in my opinion. I definitely really loved Ty Sheridan as Cyclops. Probably my second favourite role of his behind Wade in Ready Player One. And also Zoe Turner was also great as Jean Grey. Probably my second favourite role of hers behind Sansa Stark in Game of Thrones. And And then Cody Smith was also really good in this as Nightcrawler as well. Even though I do prefer Alan Cumming from X-Men 2, I still think that Cody Smith did a really good job playing Kurt Wagner as Nightcrawler in this film. And Alexander Shipp was also good in my opinion as well as Storm 2 as well. Although I do strongly prefer Halle Berry, I still think that she was great in this. And I did also like Lana Condor's Jubilee, although I do think she deserves to do much more in this film than she did really. But I still think Lana Condor still tried her best in this as Jubilee. And Olivia Munn, in my opinion, was also pretty good as Psylocke as well. I like how in this film she's much more comic accurate as how she was in The Last Stand, in my opinion. Such as using, of course, her psionic blades, for example, which were not in The Last Stand for some reason, which I thought was a dumb move. But in this film, she was definitely, in my opinion, much more faithful, which I really appreciated. And also, as well, when it comes to others who return, I did also as well love Nicholas Hoult returning as Beast as well in this film. He's definitely done a great job playing the younger version of Beast in these films. Even though I do prefer Kelsey Grammer, I still think Nicholas Hoult is a great casting for a younger version of Beast in this film, absolutely. When it comes to other new ones too, I did also like the reintroduction of Ben Hardy as Angel. I thought he was pretty good in the film as Angel, in my opinion. And I do also like how he got some metallic wings as well given to him by Apocalypse, which of course was setting up, of course, him becoming Archangel. That was definitely really cool. When it comes to cameos in this film as well, I also definitely really love how we got a cameo appearance by Marvel absolute legend Stan Lee, may he rest in peace, where he appears alongside his wife Joan, may she also rest in peace, as they watch for missiles flying into the sky to a tune of one of Beethoven's sympathies. Like, it was definitely really incredible seeing Stan in this film, and also alongside his wife. Sadly, that was her final ever appearance immediately before she passed away. Rest in peace to Joan Lee. But it was definitely really cool to see her alongside her husband in that cameo appearance. Yeah, and rest in peace to Stan Lee as well. Thank you so much for all the creations, and Stan, and inspired billions of people around the world. Thank you, Stan. Rest in peace to you and to your wife. And also as well, when it comes to other things as well in this film, I think the CGI is also really good too as well, in my opinion. It's definitely, in my opinion, miles better than today's CGI for Marvel stuff. Absolutely. Miles better, which is why I really appreciate this film and don't think it deserves the hate that it got. I also as well definitely really like John Ottman's musical score in this film. I love how he once again brought back his theme song, which he used in X-Men 2, like he did in Days of Future Past. He did it again for this one, which I definitely really appreciate. It's just an awesome theme song, very memorable, great to listen to. And also as well, when it comes to a story of this film as well, I think for what it is worth, they did try and do our best with a story, in my opinion. Because I think the writing was pretty good too when it comes to Apocalypse. I definitely really loved Apocalypse in this film. And I think the film is also well paced too, because the film is 144 minutes. And in my opinion, it's pretty well paced because there's plenty of good action scenes in this film, which I definitely really liked. And one fact of it, which I think is still strong, like in First Class and Days of Future Past, is probably the interactions between Charles and Eric. I still think they're great as always in this film. Yeah, James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender have great chemistry and interacting with each other. And yeah, the film, in my opinion, doesn't deserve a hate. I personally think it's an underrated film. Definitely, in my opinion, in a much better third installment compared to The Last Stand, in my opinion. And speaking of The Last Stand, I also like how this film gave a hint, of course, towards the Phoenix persona, when, of course, Jean says part of the final battle defeating Apocalypse. And for what is also worth, the fights in this film are also really good too, as well, in my opinion. And definitely fun to watch, in my opinion. They're definitely more watchable compared to the next film, featuring, of course, the beginnings cast of the X-Men, which completely ruined the franchise. So that's what I think is great about this film then, but if I also didn't get any bad qualities, I personally was not a fan of how Mystique was portrayed in this film, because compared to how I thought he was much more tall in First Class and Days of Future Past, I personally think in this film she was really unlikable. And this is supposed to be the character who saved the President of the United States in the previous movie, yet in this film she's just being really unlikable and an absolute douchebag. I just couldn't stand her in this film. She was very annoying, in my opinion. So yeah, that just really didn't work for me. So I don't know why I had to do it to Mystique, of course. Not to mention she's played by an actress I hate, being Jennifer Lawrence, so yeah, it doesn't help either. Yeah, we definitely ruined the character, in my opinion, in this movie. And also as well, when it comes as well to some of the dialogue in this film, while I think most of it is good to listen to, there is one particular quote which does really annoy me, and that's in the scene where several of the younger X-Men are at the cinema watching Star Wars films. I really hate how Jean Grey makes comment about Return of the Jedi, saying the third film is always the worst. And that's simply not true, because there are tons of third films, Return of the Jedi included, which I think are amazing and not bad films at all. I mean, sure, there's so much I think are weaker than the first two films, but there are some third films which I think are great. And there's even weaker third films than the previous ones, which I still think are great too as well. So, yeah, I just didn't like how she told to Return of the Jedi, because I love that film, just like I do to the rest of the original Star Wars trilogy. Not to mention, it was definitely a bad idea to include that line in the first place, because the film takes place before even released in that year, 1983 too, as well, so yeah, that was definitely a mistake when it comes to, of course, the timeline, because the film hadn't come out yet in that year, exactly. And when it comes as well to portrayals of some of the characters, I personally did not like how this film killed off Havoc as well, because he, of course, accidentally causes the expansion to blow up when, of course, he tries to shoot Apocalypse with of course, his laser, and it's unfortunate, of course, hits some, like, generator, which, of course, blows up. And I don't understand how Quicksilver couldn't have saved him first when, of course, the explosion happened, because he was literally in the danger room with the other X-Men, yet somehow he couldn't be saved. That, in my opinion, just didn't work. And unfortunately, his body couldn't be found, and they never touched upon this afterwards. Like, could he still been alive? We're never going to know, because he never touched upon it, so that really sucked. So I think that was just pretty stupid, really, what they did with this. Just really stupid. What we did to Havoc. He didn't deserve to be killed off like that at all. No. Yeah, that just really didn't work at all. So yeah, that was just, in my opinion, a really bad move. And also, as well, there's also other inconsistency with Jean, because while I do love Sophie Turner as Jean in this film, there's a bit of a mistake in terms of course, character appearance, because she has the wrong eye colour compared to Famke Janssen in the later films. I mean, I didn't even notice the different eye colour until later on when I rewatched it, and I compared it to Famke Janssen. I was like, oh no, that's a bad mistake. You think they could have probably changed it in post-production with, like, you know, digital effects, but sadly not, that wasn't to be, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah. Nonetheless, I still enjoy this film for what it is worth. I don't think it's a bad film by any means. I just think it's weaker than the first two films of the beginning X-Men movies when it comes to its new trilogy. But the only issues I have is that Mystique is very unlikable. Didn't like how the film killed off Havoc. And I guess also that Wolverine, in my opinion, actually deserved dialogue in his appearance. Sadly, he only, of course, roared and growled, and that was about it, really. And then that's it, we don't see him again. And also, as well, the film has a really dumb end credit scene as well, which goes nowhere, because it's setting up, of course, the introduction of a villain, Mr. Sinister. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the character from the comics and several other X-Men media, and I was really excited to see the character appear on the big screen, but unfortunately, what came after this film negated any chance of that happening. So that was just, in my opinion, ridiculous, how they didn't include Mr. Sinister in the later films, when this film was clearly setting him up at the end. Like, why have a credit scene and it's going to go nowhere? That's just, in my opinion, completely illogical and stupid. Like, I would love to see Mr. Sinister appear on the big screen, but we're never going to see what happened now. Because Dark Phoenix, the next film, which I think is absolute trash, completely ignores the credit scene like it never happened. So yeah, big mistake. And they can't be setting up Logan afterwards, because the corporation in that film is not the Essex Corporation, it's Transigen, not Essex. So yeah, like, honestly, I think that post-credit scene was, in my opinion, pretty bad, and in my opinion, completely and only pointless. But nonetheless, I still enjoy the film for what it is worth. It's just a few of my qualities which I think is weaker, but I don't hate it by any means. I just think it's weaker than the previous two films. So if I was to give a film a score out of 10, I'd probably give it a very decent score of 7 out of 10. That's my score for the film. I don't hate it, but I think it's weaker than the first two films of the beginning trilogy. So, this is me, of course, doing my review of 2016's X-Men Apocalypse. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to also in the comments what you guys think of this one. If you've seen it, leave in the comments below. Also, be sure to join the team by pressing subscribe for who's coming in the future. And I'll see you all later.